Welcome to Power Driven Diesel. Today we're going to look at the inner workings of a power-driven 650 horsepower rated transmission. The heart of every transmission is the valve body. This is the brain of the transmission. It tells it when to shift and controls the line pressure. The line pressure is the hydraulic pressure that applies all of the clutch elements in the transmission. The higher the line pressure, the more power the transmission can hold. That has to be balanced out depending on what you're doing, because high line pressure also makes for more heat in the transmission. Power-driven transmissions come with an in-house built high-pressure valve body. One of the most important things we do on the valve body itself is actually upgrading the electronics. This is the governor solenoid. The stock unit is quite small and it's overwhelmed by high pressure. We upgrade these with a Borg-Warner unit on every power-driven transmission, and this unit's a lot better at handling the high line pressure associated with a performance transmission. Another common upgrade on power-driven transmissions is the billet accumulator. The stock accumulator is this plastic piece with two seals. The power-driven transmission has a 4-seal billet aluminum accumulator. This is used on the 1-2 upshift, and anytime you can replace a plastic component in the transmission with an aluminum component, it's usually a good upgrade. A lot of people talk about a billet second gear lever or a billet lever. Well, what the heck is that? This is a stock 3.8 ratio lever. These are made out of cast and they're prone to failure when we increase the line pressure. Power-driven transmissions come with this billet 4.2 ratio lever. 4.2 means you get 4.2 times the force on the servo gets applied to the band, where stock is 3.8. So this is a little 10 to 12% upgrade in apply force with the same pressure. The problem with increasing this and increasing the line pressure is you have so much force that you can collapse the stock strut. So there's the stock setup, and you can see that one has bent and failed. That makes second gear go out. Power-driven transmissions come with a billet strut. The 650 horsepower transmission, this is a standard upgrade. This billet second gear strut, it doesn't bend. And then the other end is capped off with this billet anchor. The stock wedge anchor is a cast piece, and these are prone to failure. We commonly see these split on performance transmissions if they don't upgrade this. Stock transmissions, it's not a really common failure point, but I do see that as well. But performance transmissions, stock anchor is a big no-no. They'll split commonly. You want this big billet unit here. So that consists of second gear. Another thing we do, we use this heavy-duty one-piece band for second gear. The stock bands are a 3-piece unit. They're a little thinner steel, and they usually break right at the end straps here. These have great big lugs where the strut engages and the anchor on the other end, and it just makes for a lot more reliable second gear setup. Another common problem with transmissions is bind up on the 2-3 upshift. This is the stock second gear servo cover. There's no sealing rings, it's just a simple metal on metal area, so there's a lot of leakage here. This upgraded billet cover we put on our transmissions has an O-ring seal in here, and this causes the transmission to have a cleaner 2-3 upshift and gets rid of some binding issues. This is installed in the transmission down in this area here. This is standard on a 650 horsepower power-driven transmission. The clutches are another common failure point upgrade. A stock 47RE transmission has 4 of these clutches. You can see this stock clutch has some burn spots on it, and the steel has some hot spots and burns on it as well. Power-driven transmissions come with new clutches, and we prefer to use these upgraded GPZ clutches. They have a higher coefficient of friction, and they seem to have better life. And then those are combined with new steels and makes for a better setup. So that's an upgrade just from the clutch alone. Then, in addition to that, third gear, which is a common failure point, we go from 4 clutches to 6 clutches on this 650 horsepower. So that gives you a nice 50% upgrade on top of the line pressure, which increases the power, on top of the power torque ATF, which raises the friction of the fluid, and between those three we have a very reliable 650 plus horsepower setup. We rate this to 650 because we know how guys like to overshoot power ratings, and we don't want a lot of warranty claims. The input shaft is another common failure point. This is a stock input shaft. These usually break around 450 to 500 horsepower. This power driven 650 horsepower transmission comes with this billet 300M shaft. We use these 300M shafts because we've had the best luck, or the lowest failure rate with these shafts. These 300M steel shafts are standard in pretty much every built transmission, but we've tried a lot of different brands of them, and this TCS shaft we've had the best luck with, so this is the one that we put in our transmissions. Another failure point on transmissions is the torque converter. The lockup clutches are a single lockup friction element. Our transmissions come standard with a Diesel Performance Converter's triple disc torque converter. This torque converter has options for like a lower stall speed to help when you're not in lockup, and the 3 clutch lockup makes it secure and lasts the life of the transmission. It also helps put the big power down because the stock torque converter will not hold the power. They're usually worn out when you got to change the transmission anyway, so it makes sense to upgrade that. Another upgrade is this SFI rated flex plate. The stock flex plate, the guts seem to rip out of the stock flex plate around 500 horsepower. We want to give you a 650 horsepower rated transmission, so we're giving you an upgraded heavy duty flex plate to go in place of it. This flex plate is a lot thicker than stock. It's SFI rated, so you can drag race with it legally if you want to, and it's just a nice little upgrade that we include. The final component to cap this off is this nice deep cast aluminum pan. 650 horsepower transmissions come with this nice deep pan. It's not terribly deep, it's just a couple quarts over stock. We found that's the proper amount of fluid. It gives you a little extra cooling from the fins. It's rigid, so it braces the case like a girdle, which is important when you get in the bigger 1,000+ horsepower trannies. But even on the 650, a braced case is a good idea. The other thing that we like about this pan, it's not so deep. If you do ever race, you can put a transmission blanket around it. Most guys don't even think about that, but we like to drag race here at Power Driven Diesel, so we care about how deep the pan is so that we can get that blanket around it. Well, stay tuned for other videos from Power Driven Diesel, and I hope this gave you a little insight on what's inside a 650 horsepower rated transmission.